And we're off. All right. So, two semifinalists are TGH, which I do not happen to know what it stands for, unfortunately. It might sound like my volume is still out. I'm actually going to continue to try to fix this.
Yeah, actually, I think TGH stood for, like, the Guitar Hero or something. It was a very old screen name of TGH's, and he outgrew that one. So, ended up changing it to just TGH. That's my understanding of it, at least.
Okay, so TGH is the current world record holder of this game. He's had it for quite a while, actually. He's really one of the best to pick up a controller. His level of execution is insane, and Dragon is also right up there with him as one of the top runners of this game. So we're into the semifinals, and we're starting to get to the point where we've got nothing but the best here.
Yeah, and in this game, execution is very important, but also RNG can play a huge role. So once you get to, like, really high levels, a lot of it comes down to just who gets the better luck, because the execution can be really consistent, and really the only thing that's going to determine who wins and loses is, like, agging in blue balls at the end or something like that.
So, as far as the RNG goes, I'd say there's two major parts of the run where that plays major factors. One is right at the beginning, we're about to get into that section right now, and then, of course, the final boss is full of it too, but this is where it starts. So, first major trick in the run is called Moblin Skip, where they're going to try to get the kill early, skipping the powder. And there may be a route diversion here. I do not know if TGH does the powder strats or not. I know that, I'm not sure if dragonc0 does either, actually.
I'm not sure. I remember seeing Vlak do the powder, or the mushroom strat. Not too long ago, but that was like the first time I'd ever seen it. I don't know that it's a horribly common thing.
It's getting more common, but it is significantly more difficult, so we're going to have to see whether or not these runners choose to pick up the powder.
Looks like TGH is going to go with the mushroom strat.
So yeah, TGH is getting the mushroom and dragonc0 is not, so this is a route diversion. It's going to look like TGH is very far ahead for a while, but they're not going to converge until they both enter Dungeon 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, they both just attempted a trick called the tech skip for the owl. You have a 1-frame window to input a pause after opening that chest, and it looks like it went pretty well for both of them.
Yeah.
So here's where the route diversion starts. TGH, I believe, goes straight... He goes to the shop now. Mm-hmm. And later on, he is going to use the mushroom to actually go to the witch to get the magic powder, because the powder is required to get into Dungeon 2. However, dragonc0 is going to get powder right now from the trendy game. So he's going to take a little bit longer to get into Dungeon 2, but... Dungeon 1, I mean, but it's going to converge pretty soon. So the mushroom strats are a little bit faster, and you're going to see some really interesting super jump setups in Dungeon 1 and outside of it with it. So, dragonc0 into the trendy game, picking up the powder, skipping the Yoshi doll because it turns out you can skip the entire trading sequence with the glitches done in this run. TGH is in the shop, and he's going to buy a couple of sets of bombs and steal both the shovel and the bow. TGH got him heading straight to Dungeon 1.
Ooh, very interesting. I'm still pretty unfamiliar with the mushroom route, so that kind of stuff is really interesting to me.
Yeah, so the first thing is that cute little hit skip there. And Dungeon 1 has some very interesting strats if you've never seen this mushroom stuff either.
Interesting. Seeing some different piece of power routing then, because he skipped that screen.
Yes.
That you would normally go around. You would usually kill 3 Octoroks outside of Dungeon 1, but instead he ended up killing 2 of them, and then killing one of the little blobs. in the first room of Dungeon 1 there.
So, elaborating on Piece of Power for a second. It's one of the interesting features of this game that you don't really see in other speedruns or any other games at all, really, is every single enemy they kill is being routed out, because every time you kill 30 enemies without dying or saving and quitting, you get a Piece of Power drop. Piece of Power is an item that increases your movement speed and hit power for as long as you're in a dungeon. But when you exit a dungeon, you lose it. So the goal here is they're going to be trying to get the Piece of Power at the beginning of as many dungeons as possible.
Also, chat apparently thinking that me taking a drink of my water bottle is a burp. That was definitely me taking a drink of water. Apologies to anybody who was offended by that noise.
Alright, so check this out if you're not familiar with mushroom stuff, everybody.
Man, that is cool.
Super jump right off of the edge of a cliff. That is some really cool stuff, and it can actually soft block you, which is part of the reason that people shy away from doing the strat, but TGH is just crushing it right now. That
is exactly what LADX needs, is more soft block potential.
There's plenty of that already.
It just feels like every single route change that happens, there's one additional soft block.
Alright, we will see how the Troll Dorm chooses to treat TGH now.
Ooh.
Not well so far.
Definitely not.
Alright, that was a little scary.
Yeah.
The bosses in this game are, to be honest, a bit of a joke on the whole, but Moldorm is not one of them. Very reflex-intensive boss.
Yeah, and the reason that was so scary, even more so, is the fact that he was on 1 heart. If he had died there, Piece of Power count would have been completely reset, and that would have been very bad for him. He would have been pretty much off of Piece of Power and just kind of had to play it by ear for the rest of the run until he gets caught up.
And there's a dragonc, making quick work of Moldorm as well. So now, TGH has to stop by the witch to turn in the magic powder, where dragonc0 is able to just walk straight to the Moblin King, so this is where dragonc0 is going to save a bit of time. But I believe that the time when they enter the Moblin Cave is where the routes converge, so we'll know exactly how far ahead TGH is at that point.
Yeah.
Because the mushroom route does save it, I think it's about 10 seconds, it's a pretty reasonable amount of time, it's just relatively new strats and people are still getting accustomed to them.
Yeah, like I remember when quote-unquote new D7 was being found, and it was still not horribly uncommon to see people doing old D7 strats with the metal ball instead of the bomb triggers because people just weren't comfortable with them yet.
So it looks like TGH just have perhaps a 10-second or so lead. Yeah, exactly what Bamboo said.
Ooh.
And Dragon getting trolled by the Guardian Acorns. This is the second drop item you can get when dropping enemies, and this one drops when you kill 12 enemies without taking damage. You don't want it, because it just wastes time to pick it up. All it does is reduce damage, and you're not really in danger of dying at any point here. And the more sinister thing you can do is you actually cannot get a Piece of Power drop while it's active, so thankfully that's not going to matter here, but sometimes that can really mess with you.
Yeah, especially, I feel like Dungeon 3, there are quite a few spots where it's pretty common to see acorn drops. Right
so
around
TGH
the time where
is picking up our friend for the entire run, Bow Wow, his faithful pet. So, the entire purpose of Bow Wow is to get you into Dungeon 2 by eating one of the flowers, and then you're supposed to return him. We're never going to do that because we just never end up getting back into Maid Village to do so, so he will follow us around for the whole run, and he is both a blessing and a curse. So
it's as time has gone on, I've found him to be more useful than anything else, because I think about how the Piece of Power routing would be affected if you actually did return Bow Wow, and it would be so much, like, you would have to go out of your way to kill so many extra enemies that Bow Wow just eats for you instead.
Yeah, so he can't speed up your piece of power running. By the way, TGH getting piece of power on the perfect enemy at the very beginning of D2, so he will be Rocket Link for the whole dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
And the negative part of Bow Wow is, yes, he can speed you up with your piece of power route, but the enemies he eats are largely random, and he can also speed you up a little bit too much, to the point where you can start actually missing the piece of power that you want.
Yeah.
If he drops it right outside a dungeon, so that hasn't happened yet. The first place that can happen is outside D2, and the next big place that can happen is D5, so
yeah,
we're gonna have to pray he doesn't go too crazy. Yeah, they both got it exactly where they wanted it.
But yeah, it's interesting. Like, I feel like as you get to higher levels of execution, you tend to see RNG kind of affecting less and less in terms of like Bow Wow eating enemies, because when you have consistent movement through screens, you can kind of count on Bow Wow eating similar enemies. Like, it's still definitely a huge factor, but I feel like if you kind of meander in screens or have kind of sloppy movement, you can have him affect your piece of power a lot more frequently. But
so TGH made quick work of one of the most infamous rooms in the game for speedrunners. That's the room where you have to kill the 3 enemies in exactly the same order, and they can decide to walk in patterns that can really make your life hell. So, TGH, just fine there. Dragon coming up in the same room. Meanwhile, TGH entering the boss. So, there's a few skips that are going to be done here. Done casually, this is one of the longest bosses in the game because you have to go through this cycle of him shooting fireballs at you 3 times. But when he throws the pot the first time, you can clip into the top wall to actually insta-kill him. And then there's a second quick kill where you can use a bomb and then a bomb arrow with very precise timing to just insta-kill him.
yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite boss fights in the game. If you execute it perfectly, it just feels good no matter how like much it becomes muscle memory. And I think it's just one of the most like visually interesting as well. Link's Awakening DX is not necessarily the hardest game in terms of boss fights, but this one looks very impressive when you do it.
Yeah, I agree. And they both handled it perfectly.
Yeah. Even, I think both of them even avoided damage when they hit him with the bomb arrow. Which is very good.
Alright, so they're both headed straight to D3. The entire subquest with Richard and Candle and Castle is getting skipped due to a trick known appropriately as Villa Skip. So, this involves pause buffering while going over a pit to force yourself over the pit, onto the screen transition, and then kind of pseudo falling off a cliff / hedge straight into the maze. And this is another frame perfect trick, which is annoying because it's sometimes hard to know exactly what frame you're supposed to pause on. So they're going to jump over this pit and start pause buffering, and they're going to buffer until they hear the sound of Link falling. Done perfectly. Wow. That'll be 1 frame in. Speaking of 1 frame, TGH nails it.
Wow. And that trick can be very annoying because it's also subpixel based, I believe. Or no, was that a global frame rule? I don't even know.
Also a global frame rule. It may actually be both. So there's a lot that can mess with you there.
Yeah.
And now they're going to do a similar trick to escape the maze. TGH unfortunately falling in the hole there, but you're going to line themselves up like that, and then game thinks he's on top of that hedge, and it makes him fall until he's on top of the floor right outside the maze.
Yeah, that Villa Skip can be one of it's funny because even though it's actually not RNG, it completely feels that way because as a human, there's not really an easy way to manipulate it. So it's not uncommon to see 5 to 10 buffers on that, but it looked like Dragon, I think, got it on the 2nd or 3rd. So very good Villa Skips on both their parts.
So D3 is the dungeon where we're going to pick up the Pegasus boots, which of course, the item lets you go fast is great for a speedrun. You'll be seeing a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see TGH jumping over that third Zell there. That's usually where, if there's going to be an acorn drop that you pick up, that's usually where it is.
And this room should drop a piece of power.
Yep.
Right there.
Nice.
Now they're going to completely skip the Dodongo boss by doing a kind of tricky little super jump here, then using their sword to clink off the Dodongo and going straight to this hallway. So that's going to end up skipping 2 keys, as well as having to kill the mini-boss. So that trick there kind of breaks the whole dungeon open at this point.
Yeah. It's also yet another example of a route change that introduced another potential soft lock. Nice, perfect on Dragon side as well. And of course, you've got to do it twice, so... Very nice. Ooh, unfortunate. Thankfully, if you mess it up with that timing, you don't get soft lock, you just need to... You just get to try it again. It's actually, it's not horribly punishing to miss that trick.
And we're straight to the boss for TGH.
Mm-hmm.
We have the second incarnation of Vitreous here. A little bit less threatening than he is in Link to the Past.
A little tiny bit, you know.
Yeah.
He's lost a few eyes. And of course, there's actually a piece of power specific quick kill that TGH is going to do right here.
Yeah, this is the one of the few bosses in the game where it's actually significantly sped up by having the piece of power, because you have to do a much different strat without it. But
yeah,
you can kill the eyes in 2 hits with it.
Yeah, and it also saves an equip also, because usually you would want to have Feather equipped if you didn't have Piece of Power.
And here comes the first instance of a trick you will see quite a bit of called bomb triggering. And I will confess to not really knowing how this works, but if you place 2 bombs within 4 frames of each other, and there's a few ways to do that, while entering a screen, if there is any cutscene that can trigger on that screen, whether or not you have the requirements for it, it will trigger. So that can range from an owl cutscene, like what we just saw, going all the way up to what you're about to see, which is, by quite a big margin, the biggest trick as far as time saved in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to be seeing a Walrus skip, which allows us to skip the entire Marin side quest and the flute entirely. The ocarina, sorry. I guess it's the ocarina in this game, right? Not flute like Link to the Past. Been spending a little too much time with that game lately.
Yeah, so the ocarina, we will skip it and all the songs it plays, mostly due to bomb triggering. So here it is, and this is another one of the big softlock potential spots.
Mm-hmm.
And so within a racing context, we have a rule where if you get into a spot where you're softlocked, you're allowed to save and quit, and then go back to the most recent spot you were. In the standard speedrun, that's not allowed, but because it's a race, no one wants to see it end like that. It's allowed. Yeah. In this particular context, you're actually locked out of your pause menu, so even that is not possible. So in this case, we actually allow a safety save where if you happen to softlock there, you can load up an Animal Village and try it again, which doesn't look like we're going to see that for these runners, which is very good news.
Yeah, definitely. That's not incredibly surprising. Once you get up to the semifinals, it's, for a lot of people, it's just complete muscle memory. Here's really
another legendary reincarnation of a Link to the Past boss. That was the Landmola.
You never get to see them, ever. Significantly, once again, a little bit less threatening and less annoying to do optimally.
Well, maybe he looks really scary. I guess we'll just never know.
Yeah.
Never get to see him.
And of course, the Landmola phase in the final boss fight is not quite representative of Landmola either. I don't know what they were doing when they made that thing.
So with the Angular Key in tow, they're both off to open Dungeon 4. They are going, so, a little bit of an interesting route here. They're going to enter Dungeon 4, get the flippers, then instantly leave, and then come back and do it later. That is because defeating Dungeon 4 triggers a ghost side quest where you have to kind of, like, escort him around the whole map, bring him to his house and then his grave, and only then can you then progress in the game. But by just simply holding onto D4 until later, we can skip that whole side quest, which saves quite a bit of time.
Yeah, definitely. I believe it's after Dungeon 6 is when you can complete Dungeon 4 without the side quest triggering. So you're going to see them return after Dungeon 6. It works out routing-wise quite well, also.
So this is a little bit of a hallway of pain here. You run through it without any weapon just because your pause menu works out much better if you just hold onto your Pegasus boots and your bracelet here, so you're trying to clip into walls and just kind of praying that these moblins don't get in your way for the most part.
Exactly, yeah. And this is the stretch that pretty much, if it makes or breaks your piece of power routing for Dungeon 5.
Yeah, this is where Bow Wow gets the opportunity to gorge himself if he wants to.
Exactly. I believe it's been looking pretty average for TGH from what I can see.
Yeah, I think both runners are most likely going to be okay for the Dungeon 5 piece of power.
Yeah. You can see Dragon actually specifically throwing the rock away from that moblin right there to try and save a kill, just so that he doesn't get a little bit too greedy with it and get an early POP.
There's a bit of a sequence break in this dungeon. There's this iconic little plus sign of pits here, which you're supposed to have to go all the way around to jump in from the bottom, but you can do a tricky little Pegasus jump to just get in there from the side, so you actually can skip 2 keys this way.
Yeah. Also coming up on TGH's side is probably one of the worst rooms in the game. You have to jump over this cracked rock, get that chest without the Tektite getting in your way, and then jump back over, but TGH doing it flawlessly. And there's that sequence break Giacob just mentioned.
And here's Cue Ball, like most Link's Awakening bosses, you can just kind of give him, stick him in the corner. Yeah, we don't have much to show for bosses in this game.
Yeah, definitely. The highlight of this speedrun is definitely just the tech, the movement, super jump, spawn triggers, etc.
Yeah, I'd say if I had to pick one thing, I'd say the movement. It's the Pegasus boots, feather. There's a lot of really fluid, cool movement in this game.
Absolutely, and another interesting thing that's very different from a lot of 2D Zelda games is the focus on diagonal movement, which may, it may not seem super different from like Link to the Past because they have very similar perspectives, but trust me when I say that. Ooh.
TGH, yep, he got trolled unfortunately. So the last possible enemy that Bow Wow could have ate, he ate, dropped the piece of power. So he's gonna lose a bit of time in Dungeon 5. It's not a run breaker, but it's 10 to 20 seconds.
Yeah, definitely. That is very unfortunate, and it could be just what Dragon needs to catch up. We will see. Dungeon 5 can be quite a tricky dungeon with or without piece of power, so...
Yeah, this is most likely the most execution-heavy dungeon of the game.
Yeah.
Not too many sequence breaks until the end, but lots of rooms you have to have great reaction and tech and room strategies.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And so I expect what you're going to be seeing throughout this dungeon is TGH is probably going to try and kill some extra enemies, potentially, as long as they don't slow him down too much. But he also might just forego it entirely.
Yeah, because you can actually... This dungeon is so long and involves so many rooms that you actually end up getting a second piece of power drop in it if you happen to lose your first one, or in TGH's case, never get it at all.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you can see him already starting to kill enemies he wouldn't have necessarily killed if he had piece of power. And that's mostly to just try and get that second drop as early as possible. Ooh.
So Dragon has got his piece of power, so he's got a chance to catch up here, and he's not that far behind to begin with, so this could be a very, very close race coming out of Dungeon 5.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So here we're going to see the Master Stalfos. We're going to see him 4 different times. The first and fourth fights, he requires 3 bombs to take down, and the second and third, he only requires 2. And on that 4th fight, we're going to get the hook shot from him.
And he's the reason this dungeon is so long. There's 4 fights, and you have to do them all in exactly the right order, so he just kind of leads you around the whole dungeon. So it's 2 down for TGH, 1 down for Dragon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right now they're entering the exact same fight, just at the just in different rooms, essentially.
You can only tell because of the doors. So the first little mini sequence break here is after killing the 3rd one, these players are going to get the boss key. A little bit early. You're supposed to have the hook shot for it, but you can do a pretty precise Pegasus jump over this pit that's coming up.
Yeah,
and get it right
this
now.
Actually, this jump is actually, it may seem like it should be the same with or without Piece of Power, but the delay on the boots charging up is very slightly different by like a couple frames, which is why TGH.
Yeah, so TG's having some trouble. This does mess with you if you don't have it, and he gets it eventually, so that's good. But it is significantly harder with the Piece of Power.
It's less lenient, and the timing is different enough that when you've, as TGH definitely has, spent hundreds of attempts just practicing that and getting it in your muscle memory, when anything changes even a little bit, it can really throw you for a loop. And Dragon getting it first try, very nice. At this point, I don't know if TGH would even pick up Piece of Power if he got it. Yeah, he's leaving it behind.
The dungeon's almost over, so
yeah, and you actually
it's not too long to go. And
you don't really want it for Dungeon 5 boss. It's possible to 2-cycle the Dungeon 5 boss with Piece of Power, but the timing is a lot tighter, so it's kind of in your favor to just leave Piece of Power behind if you pick it up.
Dragon's getting trolled right now by this Helmosaur.
Yeah.
So there's some mean enemies. But yes, if you have a Piece of Power, hitting enemies actually gives them significantly higher hit stun than a regular sword, which usually doesn't matter because it one-shots most things. But in the case of the boss, the amount of time you have to spend in between hits is much longer, and it actually does normal damage to this boss. It doesn't do double. So you want to lose it intentionally if you can.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see this Helmosaur room significantly easier with the hook shot second time around.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that you have to go through the whole dungeon without it.
Yeah.
And only then do you know what you were missing. So, boss of Dungeon 5 here. This is the Wall Snake. It's going to make 4 holes, and he'll come out of them randomly. So this is a very reaction time dependent boss. You have to kind of see what hole he's coming out of and get right to him, because you don't have much time to spare.
Exactly. There is a setup to get a consistent 2-cycle every time. Standing at the bottom and then at the top for the second cycle, you can react, but I remember the old strat of just pick a side and pray.
Yeah, and even with the setup, you still need to really be on high alert to move toward him.
It's definitely not free, but it's consistent, we'll say.
Alright, yeah, it looks like they have evened up quite a bit. It's only about a 20 or so second difference between them now, heading out of D5.
Ooh.
But yeah, Dragon just unfortunately missed it there. Alright, so not too big of a time loss. He gets up 2 cycles later.
Definitely decent recovery. Sometimes if you're not careful and you just decide to stick to a side, you can really get trolled there.
Yeah, it often feels like he's trying to enact retribution on you whenever you miss.
Yeah.
It makes you pay for it. So Bao is actually going to kind of earn his keep in this next section coming up. He's very helpful in this Armos maze.
Yes, definitely.
Because he can eat Armos even when they're not woken up, so you can save quite a bit of time and potentially healthier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the Armos do quite a bit of damage. I don't remember
two
exactly.
Full hearts.
2 full, yeah.
So this is probably the section of the game where dying is the biggest concern, because there's this, and then there's the Armos Knight mini-boss, who is actually pretty tricky, and that'll be coming up soon.
Yeah,
then you've got a ways to
definitely.
go in Dungeon 6 before you can get a health refill, so they're going to be watching their health totals here. But yeah, just right, Babbo just instantly eats that Armos, which means you don't have to worry about waking it up or bouncing it or anything.
Exactly, yeah, and there are a couple of spots where you can guarantee him to eat an Armos statue by entering the screen a certain way. So, and the other nice thing is our arrow count is usually very low at this point in the run, so the Armos will guarantee drop an arrow when Bow Wow eats it.
So this is the Armos Knight. You're supposed to shoot him with a whole bunch of arrows, but there's a really cool strat there with boots, where you can just kind of bonk off of the wall to avoid him knocking you in the air and just kill him very quickly.
Yeah, affectionately. Oh, unfortunate timing on that piece of power for Dragon.
Yeah, a little bit early.
But yeah, affectionately referred to as bootstrats for obvious reasons. And here, this is the screen where Bow Wow will always eat that enemy, so you never have to worry about getting him out of the way.
And dragonc0's got his own brand of bootstraps. There's actually quite a few different ways to kill him.
That is a really interesting, like, bootstrat. I have not seen that before.
That one tries to get him as close to the door as possible. So TGH, little concerned about his health. He swims a long way around that little island, which forces Bow Wow to eat that Armos, so you don't have to damage boost through it and take another 2 hearts.
Mm-hmm. And here you're going to see a way in which Bow Wow is super broken. He just ate the cutscene, because cutscenes are sprites. And
his hunger knows no bounds.
Yeah. So we're going to be seeing that an additional time in the run here. Oh, Dragon opting to go to the right side.
With 2.5 hours. Okay, it's getting about to eat it anyway, yes. I would not recommend damage boosting yourself there, because he still has to be a little careful. He's not in imminent danger of death, but 1.5 is a bit scary for entering here.
And TGH getting the worst RNG possible there. If you just hold up left throughout that entire segment, you can get through there just fine. But you can have several different patterns of RNG, which will damage you, certain numbers of times. And the worst RNG gives you 3 hits, which is what he got.
Cute little trick here that TGH and most likely Dragon will do as well is, if you double hook shot a pot or some other similar object, you can actually gain invincibility for the room, so he just gets to sit here and watch the tiles fly over him.
Yeah, and then hookshotting the last 4 to speed it up just a little bit.
So there's a major dungeon sequence break here. There's a super jump coming up after he gets the boss key that skips the mini-boss and then some other rooms as well. And this is one of the most super jumps in this game are not too hard. This one is very precise. You have to get a max height, and you have 1 of 2 pixels I think you can do it off of.
Ooh, unfortunate timing on the piece of power there.
And if your pixel is a little bit too high, you actually soft block yourself. Gets it very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
There will be no Dodongo fights at all in this run, even though we get to see 4 of them.
Yeah. And there are actually, Ooh, Dragon on low health, actually.
Yep.
Just realizing. A little bit scary.
Yeah.
We're coming up on horse heads. More RNG. Yay.
And this is completely random. You gotta throw them until they both land face up. So that was 3rd try, I think, which is not too bad.
Yeah, definitely not. I think you have to get it within 6 tries for it to save time over the old route. Alright, Dragon coming up to the soft lock jump and getting it just fine.
And the next fantastic boss in this game is coming up.
Best boss in the game.
This might be the most embarrassing one, honestly.
I don't know, anglerfish? Like, it's hard to say.
At least anglerfish looks like a thing that you might conceivably fight. This is a face.
A face that is vulnerable before his face actually shows up on screen. His hitbox is active before the cutscene that introduces him, so literally just need 5 bombs, 3 of which you get before he's even on screen at all. And there's the boss.
Yeah, he is a happy-looking fellow. Even when he's being torn apart, he just sees the good side of life.
He just sits there and smiles.
We can all learn a little bit of something from this boss.
Even if bombs are blowing up in your face, just face it with a smile.
So, next bomb trigger here, the later bomb triggers you can, and they will choose to do without buffering, and he unfortunately missed it there. And the way those work is, when you transition, you try to place a bomb and transition on the same frame and then buffer a bomb, which satisfies the conditions for a bomb trigger. So that is a 1-frame window if you don't buffer it, and missed there, unfortunately. It doesn't lose that much time. It's only about 5 seconds for missing a now skip.
It's not a super critical time loss.
And this is the point where they're gonna head back into Dungeon 4, because, as Cranston said earlier, the flag for not getting the ghost side quest is beating Dungeon 6. So this will be a pretty quick trip.
As we implied in our discussion about what the most pathetic boss in the game was, Anglerfish is...
No, he's in the running for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely in the running. He's, I would say, fastest boss.
Yeah.
I think he wins hands down.
This is a pretty cute super jump, by the way.
Yeah, this is a fun
super
one.
Jump and then sword clink off a P-head to get to this upper level.
That one's really fun. Unfortunately, Dungeon 7 used to have my favorite super jump in the game, where you would super jump and then clink off a P-hat in midair, like, by doing an extra slash. But unfortunately, that's been replaced. Oh, by the way, Anglerfish is done.
Yeah, so...
That was something that just happened. Actually, I should refresh my stream just to make sure it's not lagging or anything.
And that is the last trip to Dungeon 4. And dragonc0 is still right on his heels. And the next trick coming up may well be a decider of a lot of time for one or both players.
Definitely. Yep. So, coming up here, we have Rooster Skip, which is a pretty legendarily difficult trick. It involves 2 frame-perfect inputs directly in a row. There is a buffered strategy for this trick, which makes it significantly easier, but I know at higher levels, runners tend to go bufferless, which makes it quite scary.
And so here's what's going to happen, because it's going to happen pretty quickly. When they get to the Bird Key Cave, they're going to jump right over the pit. And pits in this game are not a big black zone of fall immediately. They're actually tiles, and you only actually fall when you're in the middle of one of those tiles. When you're on the edge of one of the tiles, you're able to shoot the hook shot. And when the hook shot is coming back to you, you have 1 frame to input a jump. And they have to do that twice.
Exactly.
Without falling.
Yeah, Rooster Skip is a pretty significant time save, especially with the current route that skips the ocarina.
Yeah. It's essentially impossible to not do this trick in the new route, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Because otherwise you would need to go get the ocarina, you would need to go then get 300 rupees and get the frog song. And so it's just an insane time loss to not do this trick in this route.
Yeah, and compounding the difficulty of this is if you fall in one of the pits, they're not normal pits that send you back to the start of the room. They send you outside back into Tao Tao Heights. So
Exactly.
you lose about 30 or even more seconds if you fail this. So here goes TGH. No buffer. Oh yeah.
That's not surprising.
Yeah.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah, so if you miss enough times, it pushes you forward. And there, yeah, Bow Wow almost trolled him there, but he made it. So
yeah, if you, what a lot of runners who use the buffered method or bufferless method will do is if it starts getting a little sketchy, if it looks like they're about to fall into a pit or Bow Wow is about to get in their way, they will start buffering just as a backup strat. So definitely significantly easier than it used to be, but
ooh, missed his second jump input there. So that is a pretty hefty time loss. That's about 30 seconds.
Yeah. Had that been the other way around, where TGH fell and Dragon got it first try, we would probably be seeing a very even race.
Alright, second try. Ooh,
Bow Wow.
Bow Wow is coming. That is not good.
And Bow Wow is blocking the hook shot, so he can't really see the visual cue here, but it looks like he got the right frame.
So he got the buff. Oh, he was too high, yeah. So your hook shot clinks off of Bow Wow, so if he gets in front of your hook shot, it's basically game over for the trick.
Yeah.
And that's yet another thing to compound this. So TGH is in a Dungeon 7. This is pretty badly broken. You're about to see a lot of bomb triggers because the animations of the pillars falling that you need to do to get to the 4th floor are cutscenes in themselves, and they can be bomb triggered.
Yeah.
So the entire kind of sub mini quest with the throwing ball of pillars is going to be skipped. Yep, Dragon missing it yet again, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's one of the issues with Rooster Skip is as soon as you miss it one time, you just start kind of
it tilts you.
You start thinking about it, and then it just becomes so much harder. It's a lot easier when you just do it using muscle memory and you're just in a, kind of calm. But it's just one of those tricks.
Wow, don't do it.
Ooh, nice save.
Saved it, I think, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
nice.
we finally got there.
Very good. That was very scary there. He clinked off Bow Wow once, but thankfully Bow Wow moved out of the way as soon as he did.
Alright, here comes the trick called Goomba Surf. This is yet another very heavy random part of the game. Yeah, the idea here is to do a really tight super jump on top of this Goomba, which gives you just enough height to bounce across the room and onto the ledge over there. Unfortunately, in order to do this, the Goomba has to come right, so he got it there. But it took him 5 tries.
I think is that one also 6 tries for it to save time over the old super jump?
Yeah, it saves quite a bit of time. I'm not sure exactly how many, but the alternative is to head to the left and do a very cute little super jump to get across the boss key door. And here's the Evil Eagle.
Yet another very impressive,
pretty
iconic,
cool boss if you do him the way you're supposed to. But
yeah,
this is much faster and much easier. And TGH has 1 dungeon left.
Yeah, so an important, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so an important little routing detail is about to come up. He's going to jump off of a ledge coming up here, and then buffer the save and quit screen, which allows him to extend his jump a little bit to get over this hole. And if he couldn't do that, this route with doing D4 earlier would actually be impossible. Because there's actually no way to get back to main Telltale Heights without doing that. And of course, it's very important to save the love interest, because Aaron's in trouble. We need to do something about that. Stuck on a bridge. Alright, don't worry, your hero's coming.
Oh wait, never mind.
Oh yeah, never mind, I guess. Doesn't care. I hope we didn't ruin anybody's ships there.
Important to note that if you accidentally walk into that cutscene, it just keeps going,
it's like,
man.
It's like
it doesn't
45
stop.
seconds, yeah.
It's just takes forever, and then an owl shows up, and it doesn't stop. A nice dragon getting through Goomba Surf.
Next trick here is called Flame Skip. You're supposed to have the Mirror Shield from Dungeon 7 to get past this flame, but you can clip into the wall and do a damage boost to just run right through it.
And there we go. Mirror Shield is skipped.
Coming up on T-Rock here, you're supposed to have the Frog Sing a Soul to wake him up, but you've probably guessed what our trick of choice to skip that is here.
Yeah, basically we
trigger.
replace the Ocarina with bombs in this run, more or less.
It joins Ocarina of Time in the ranks of games where bombs are completely broken.
True. Very true.
So this is another pretty broken dungeon, and it's not because of glitches this time. There's a couple of bombable walls here, which I think the developers intended for you to only bomb from the top side. Doing it from the bottom skips about half the entire dungeon.
Yeah, you barely see any of what this dungeon has. There are so many mini-bosses from previous
the mini-bosses from dungeons 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 are all in this dungeon. You're supposed to have to go through all of them. And we will skip all except one.
Rip Blano skip. There is technically a way to skip the mini boss coming up here.
That pretty hard there.
Yeah, this room can be kind of tough sometimes. But yeah, there is a way to skip this fight, but unfortunately, it does violate our rules for out of bounds in this game. So we are not allowed to do it.
Yeah, the rule set for no out of bounds, no wrong is actually pretty long, because this game is very broken with no holds barred.
Oh yeah. Any percent world record is 4.5 minutes, I think?
Something like that, yeah.
Somewhere in that range. It's pretty busted.
Warps to anywhere, starting to get into arbitrary code execution at this point. It's a playground.
Yeah.
So we got the magic rod, which lets him set stuff on magic. Not the fire rod. That's totally different.
Nope. Not in this game. Definitely not.
And we have the return of Cubone. Cuball, that is. Cubone is a Pokemon.
Cubone is a cute Pokemon.
And this is the boss key room, which this is a lot more annoying than it looks. Controlling this little rolling thing can really mess with you.
It's one of the most interesting rooms to watch different players do, because I feel like different people just have their own individual strats for it.
Yeah, so you can, while the thing is moving, you can buffer jumps, which send you in strange directions, and there are a lot of different ways to try to get next to the chest by the time it ends. Alright, so to get to the boss key early, we're going to do a water jump, and then a super jump. And here is the final excellent boss.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's also one of the most annoying, because knowing how... It is almost impossible to know when he's actually taking damage and when he's not.
Yeah.
But that was a one cycle from TGH, which is actually very impressive. That's
very good, yeah.
Kind
just
of rare, actually.
One bounce off the wall, which is about as fast as you can get it. There is like one faster pattern, but Very, very rare.
And that will clear up all the dungeons, and all that's left is the final boss. See, unfortunately, Dragon's quite a ways behind. Rooster Skip really messed with him.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate sequence of events there.
Because this final boss really is the great equalizer. You can lose up to a full minute due to nothing but randomness here.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's probably not enough to even out the race. But if he had got Rooster Skip first try, we would be biting our nails right now trying to figure out who was going to win.
Exactly, definitely.
Because 30 seconds is hardly a lead coming into this.
Mm-hmm. And of course, using our quote-unquote ocarina one last time.
I just realized you can play the bombs as an ocarina in both this game and Ocarina of Time. So
I know, yeah, I was
basically
thinking about
the same
Ocarina
item.
of Items when you were saying that. I just picture Link doing that in this game too. Just use a bomb for a head.
So a little more about the final boss. So the flavor here is pretty cool in my opinion. It's the nightmares invaded the Windfish's dream, and in order to try to defeat Link, they take the form of his nightmares essentially to try to frame him out of fighting. So Cransoon, you're a Link to the Past runner.
Yes.
Do you have nightmares about Aghanim?
Yeah.
Seems like the nightmares did a pretty good job then.
Definitely. Although, honestly, I kind of have more nightmares about this Aghanim, if I'm being totally honest.
Just because it's at the end?
Yeah, because it's at the end, and theoretically, there's no upper limit.
But other than that, it's just the same. He can shoot good balls and bad balls. 50-50 chance, and you have to get 2 of the good ones, and it's up to him how long it takes.
Yep.
But first of all, first boss here is the slime mold. And there is a very odd-looking quick kill here where you can have him land on your sword and you have a chance to kill him instantly. And so it failed there. It is just a chance. It's based on subpixels. Or frame rules, actually, I forget which.
I mean, at a certain point, they're basically anyway, so what's even the point? So here, first 2 of these are going to be always going to be round balls. And then, the last 2 are going to be blue balls. Or,
yeah, we call them blue balls, even though they're not actually blue, but
yeah,
it's
just
the same
pulling
idea.
From Link to the Past.
And not actually balls in this case.
Alright. Let's see, can you get one more? Ah, unfortunate.
Yep, so start keeping count. That's 1.
Alright, one
just 1 is pretty good.
I believe, like, what would you consider a good... oh, also, quick kill on Moldorm right there. You can hit his hitbox before he even fully spawns.
Yep, here's Ganon, who goes down pretty quickly. In this game, running into things with your sword out in the Pegasus boots does a lot of damage very quickly.
And that was Landmola?
So yeah,
kinda.
You got 2 chances to see him, and you didn't really get any.
You didn't get to see him.
So Nightmare's true form is Deathel, and he's the last shot at killing the run. You have to shoot 16 arrows into his eye when it's open, and you guessed it, it is completely random when he opens his eye.
Yeah.
So best case scenario is 4 cycles, and getting that requires some pretty precise timing. You have to get your arrows in as quickly as possible. And I think he's on track to get it right now. He may have just missed one right there. So it'll be a 5 cycle, it looks like. Yep.
But pretty quick 5 cycle. That was definitely not a bad run at all.
And it looks like it's going to be about a 54:25, which is an absolutely excellent time.
Definitely.
It's a very, very good run from TGH. So timing will end right when the screen fades to white right now. So 54:27 is the time on the stream, and the SRL time is 54:28, which is fantastic. So congratulations to TGH. He will advance to the finals. And at the same time, Dragon just starting the final boss, and it looks like he actually missed the bomb trick at the beginning, so...
Yeah, the cutscene skip, so
Yep.
he's gonna have to do some old school strats for the blob quick kill.
The good news is he gets to listen to the best song in the game,
True.
which you skip otherwise.
That is one thing that made me really sad about the about that cutscene skip. Or is that it just the final boss fight is completely silent.
And time for the Aghanim shenanigans, which almost rhymes, I guess.
Alright, looks like
pretty
one
good
for
Aghanim
him
from
as
him.
well.
Yep.
Not bad at all.
And so, tries luck at the Moldrum quick kill, which looks like he nailed it.
Yep. Ah, there we go.
And best of luck to Deathel, or to Link in this, I suppose.
Alright, we getting some blinking action. Not bad.
That's perfect, actually.
That was
that
really
was a
nice.
fantastic Deathel.
It took a little while. It was a bit of a slow startup, but
Yeah, but then
definitely
it ended.
ended. If you had just taken out that little sequence of closed eyes at the beginning, that would have been perfect.
Yeah. And the SRL time for Dragon is a... I can't read it. It's a 57:28.
Nice.
And a very big chunk of that time in between TGH and Dragon is actually those Rooster skips, which was probably about 2 minutes out of those three. So
Yeah.
this would
How
have
many
been-
times? How many attempts
failed
was
it
that?
3 times. So
3 times. So yeah,
Yep.
that's a solid chunk. Solid chunk of it. All right, looks like we have TGH in the waiting room. Gonna see if I can move him in here.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
hello.
Hello.
Hey, congratulations.
Congratulations. You are into the finals.
Thanks, guys.
And
Thanks very much.
yep, as expected, under 54:30 is an absurd time for a race from you.
Yeah. Although I kind of got it a different way this time than I have in the past. Like, had a beginning that had me thinking 53 like right away.
Yeah, the beginning was
That
The
beginning,
beginning was
pretty
insane.
flawless, yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty
for a
ridiculous.
race, and then I don't know. Like it was kind of a little shaky. I made a lot of mistakes, and that kind of kept me from it. And of course, a D5 POP was the big one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's.
I was
thought
so
you were
mad
doing
when I saw that
Yeah,
POP
I
drop.
didn't think Bow Wow was doing that badly for you, but
Me
I guess
neither.
I was miscounting. Yeah.
Honestly, I was
Just
thinking the
comes out
same
of nowhere.
thing. Yeah, I didn't think I'd get an early POP at all. I was surprised,
Yep,
and I was a little
Well,
angry. But
taketh and Bow Wow giveth.
yeah, true.
We have a question from the audience actually. How tired are you right now?
I'm not bad. I got like an hour of sleep last night, but I'm
Oh
fine.
goodness.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah. So welcome, Dragon, and
Welcome.
Very
mate.
nice run from you. So race PB for you as well. Congratulations.
It's because of the of the screwed up goal.
Is it?
Yeah, we gotta fix the
Oh, I didn't notice. Okay. Well, yep. That was a very close race, unfortunately, exempting the rooster skip. You guys were like 2 or 3 blue balls apart coming into rooster skip.
That was nice.
But yeah, unfortunately, that hurt to watch. Honestly, it really sucks when that happens.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get my focus through the entirety of the run. It just wasn't there.
What time is it for you over there? It's pretty late, right?
11 p.m.
That's pretty late, yeah. Yeah, it was actually pretty solid coming to rooster skip.
Yeah, definitely.
I wouldn't call that run solid up until Rooster Skip, though. That was not a solid run.
Well, I mean, it's easy to be hard on yourself, but it really was about a 20-second difference between you and TGH.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I
the
wasn't
race was real.
afraid that I was too far behind, but it wasn't a good run. That's
Well, it wasn't perfect, yeah. What do you think went wrong besides rooster skip?
it all started leaving the house,
Oh,
getting
that's
stuck
pretty
on the
early.
ledge, missing quick. Well, still getting quick
Very
sword,
early
but
tilt.
barely getting quick sword, like a 104 or something. D1, I lost my focus after the feather. That was some weird movement. On the way to D2, I screwed up Moblin King, trying to anger my frustration over missing a quad.
Well, in any case, you made it all the way to the semifinals. So
Yay.
that is 3rd place in the tournament. So congratulations.
Yeah, congrats.
Good race, Dragon.
Yeah,
So TGH is going to be headed to the finals, and he will face either Bamboo or Vlak. That's guaranteed to be a very hype race. Vlak actually is currently within 1 second of TG's world record.
Man, that's insane.
Yeah. So any
That should be
final
that should
thoughts
be
from
the best of
there's
3,
one?
right? The finals are best of 3. Am I correct?
Is it best of 3? I actually don't know.
I think it is.
Oh, I'm not sure.
That is triple the hype then.
At least that's what I saw.
I wasn't actually sure.
We should actually just change the finals from 3 separate races into just a 3% race.
Yeah. Marathon.
That would be fantastic, I think.
So any final thoughts? Or shout outs or whatever you wish?
No.
I like to thank B for waking me up.
Shout outs for that, yeah.
I had some
We guessed you
alarm.
were
I had
sleeping
some
out.
alarm troubles. I was gonna say this morning, but it's not morning, is it?
Not quite.
No,
It's morning if you want it to be.
it's basically morning.
it's morning somewhere,
Yeah.
exactly.
so it counts.
And shout outs to Feasel as always, keeping all these streams going. Just putting an unbelievable amount of time to getting all these games running at the same time.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
And that's all I've got. Anyone else?
No, I think that is about everything.
Alright, let me check the schedule to see what is coming up next. Looks like a pretty stacked evening, actually. Lots of randomizers, some Earthbound as well, it looks like, so... If you like more speedruns, there's a lot more coming up here. As far as
Yeah.
Link's Awakening goes, that is it for today. Later on this week, there's going to be the second semifinal, and then later on, perhaps a week after, will be the finals of the whole tournament. So,
Yeah, and be sure to follow all of the Speed Gaming channels. There are 4 of them, appropriately named Speed Gaming 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's always races happening on all of them, pretty much.
But for the time being, that is it for Link's Awakening DX. So thank you everybody for watching, and we'll be back with a different race and more semifinals and finals later. See you later.
Bye, everybody.
See you guys.